Hi, I'm Dr. Nichols. I'm a board certified pediatrician in Sebastian, Florida. And this morning, I'm going to talk to you about autism spectrum disorder. And from a lifestyle medicine perspective. Now, I have a son who's on the spectrum, but he's doing well. He's in middle school. And I just love to think about it as neurodiversity. He just thinks different, he just acts different, but he's fine. So, autism spectrum disorder is a developmental disability caused by differences in the brain. People with autism spectrum disorder often have problems with social communication and interaction and restricted or repetitive behaviors or interests, right? And we saw that a bit early with our son, where he had these repetitive behavior. Of course, as a pediatrician and a parent, I was like, whoa, in disbelief, that could have happened to him, right? But it has happened, and it's done. So I want to concentrate really on some of the causes. Maybe there is some interesting thing with in lifestyle medicine field in terms of like plant-based, and I will go through that. Well, once it became understood that one cause of autism may reside in the synapses, so that's the nerve-to-nerve junctions where information is transmitted, attention turned to something called heat shock proteins. And this is released by the brain when you have a fever, when children have a fever, that can improve synaptic transmission. Wow. And thus may be capable of improving long-range brain connectivity, which is depressed in autism. There's the connections are not there in autism. There's a compound called sulforaphane, sulforaphane, that upregulates those heat shock proteins. It means it makes it function better. So where do we find sulforaphane? So sulforaphane is made by broccoli, kale, cabbage, collards, and cauliflower. In other words, cruciferous vegetables. And so the broccoli sprouts may contain 20 times more sulforaphane. So how does sulforaphane fit into this autism spectrum disorder? So synaptic dysfunction, so that's the connections again in the brain, is not the only contributing cause of autism. There's also oxidative stress. The brain is particularly vulnerable to oxidative stress because a lot of free radicals are forged in the brain, which has few antioxidant defense capacities. And indeed, there's a long history of studies showing that autism is associated with oxidative stress and diminished antioxidant capacity. So NRF2 levels cut nearly in half, which is what triggers our body's antioxidant response. Okay, so that happens in autism, right? Sulforaphane, that compound again, just so happens to be perhaps the most potent natural inducer of NRF2 on the planet. So that's one way which we think sulforaphane will be acting. And then there's the mitochondrial dysfunction. So children with autism are more likely to suffer from dysfunctional mitochondria. A diet rich in cruciferous vegetables effectively retunes our metabolism by restoring metabolic balance. Not only can sulforaphane boost the gene expression of heat-shock proteins as much as 6-fold within 6 hours, it can double the mass of mitochondria in human cells growing in a petri dish. So one, NRF2, which helps induce antioxidant. 2, the mitochondria. Neuroinflammation. So brain inflammation is another causal factor in autism. If at autopsy you look at brain tissue of those with autism, you can see inflammation throughout the white matter. And if you do a spinal tap, up to 200 times the level of inflammatory mediators like interferon bathing their brains. The master regulator of inflammatory cascade is a protein called NF-kappa beta, which induces inflammation, and if overexpressed, like in autism, can lead to chronic or excessive inflammation. But sulforaphane is a major anti-inflammatory mechanism, and it inhibits NF-kappa beta. Okay? A group of Norwegian scientists were comparing the urine of autistic children to the urine of normal children in hope of teasing out any differences that could lead to hints as to what may cause it. So the urine profile of a child with autism had all sorts of peptide spikes compared to the child without autism. So most parents of autistic kids reported that they got worse when they were exposed to cow's milk. Interesting. Well, there are 2 proteins, gluten, a protein in wheat, and casein, a protein in milk, that break down not only into peptide but exorphins, right? So we see here sulforaphane, which is present in broccoli and kale and other cruciferous vegetables, and of course it's 20 times the amount is present in broccoli sprouts. We see it as a very powerful substance in a broccoli. Now you have to get it in the whole food, right? So don't go buying sulforaphane. It needs to be eaten, right? So we see that it helps with the synaptic dysfunction. It produces heat shock proteins. It helps with NRF2 levels, which is an antioxidant. It helps with the mitochondria dysfunction, and it helps with neuroinflammation. And of course, one will say, well, how do I get my autistic kid to start eating those things when they want just the same? So I think in terms of like my kid, I've seen that him having that ultra processed food, once he has that's more palatable, he craves more of that, and it's just a matter of helping to wash out, reprogram, re-engineer that those taste buds. And one thing to do that is not bringing it in the environment, taking that away little by little, being patient, and just remember that the taste buds recycle in 11 days, like 250 hours. So getting those processed foods out of the child's diet could be very helpful, could eventually help them to appreciate fruits and vegetables. And then you can get the broccoli sprouts in. I think another method you can do is, if the child likes a particular smoothie, you can simply slip that into the smoothie, right? The broccoli can easily be slipped into there, the kale, and so forth. So that may be another method where you can get it in there. All right, I hope this helps. And once again, I'm Dr. Nichols. I'm a board certified pediatrician practicing in Sebastian, Florida. So goodbye. Thank you.